let's talk about the steps we need to take to configure our failover pair. In the previous lesson, you'd have configured an interface instance on Pi802 matching the configuration of Pi801. To configure these as a failover pair, we need to create the shared folder for the synchronization file. We'll host this on Pi802. There's positives and negatives to placing the file in different locations, but really the most important thing is that it's a location that is easily accessible by both interface machines. Never create it on the PyData archive though. It kind of defeats the purpose of this whole thing. Then we configure universal interface or UniInt failover on both interfaces, indicating that one has an ID of 1 and the other has an ID of 2. Then we test. We'll run both interfaces and check their statuses and then shut the primary down, ensuring the secondary takes over and data's still flowing. Now here we are on PySIV01. We've got data flowing, looks fantastic. Let's take a look at our interfaces. We have Pi801 here. I've actually got this stopped. So we're stopped here and, naughty me, I haven't got my scrolling log running. So I'll get that running here. And let's see Pi802. I've got this one running. So let's see a scrolling log here. All right, we'll use that later. So we can see that Pi802 is running. It's feeding data into the data archive, and we're all good. Now, let's configure interface failover. Step number 1 will be to create our shared file. So let's do that. We're going to go into Windows File Explorer. We're going to create our shared folder on D drive. I'm going to create a new folder here. And this will be called Interface Failover. I'm going to share it. So go into Properties, go into Sharing, and Advanced Sharing. I'd like to share this folder with the name Interface Failover and give some permissions. So the permissions I'd like to give is the service account that runs both our interfaces. Our interfaces on Pi801 and 02 should be running under the same account, so we need to give that account permission to modify this. So we can add. Right now it's not searching for service accounts, so I'll need to go into Object Types and check service accounts. Okay. Now I can search for, underneath PySchool, SVC, PyInt. Okay, it's found it. Great. Now I'm going to give this full control. I want it to be able to really do anything it likes to this folder. Okay. Okay on that, and then we should be good. Right, next step is to configure our interfaces to be a failover pair. So I'm first going to configure my interface here on Pi802. Let's go into Failover, Enable UniInt Failover. We're going to call this, give it the ID of 2. Our other one will be the ID of 1. And we can browse for that. And we see that we've got 2 interfaces it's recognized that are running. I'm going to choose the one on Pi801. Okay. So very important. This is really the only difference in the configuration of these two. I'm on Pi802 here, so I give the ID for this interface as 2, and it's addressed to Pi802. The ID of the other interface is 1, and it's Pi801. The failover type is going to be hot, and we have some tags here that haven't been created. These are tags on the PyData archive that the interfaces will write to. They'll write their status and their heartbeat, and some other tags that we'll take a look at. So I'm going to right-click and create the digital state set for UFO status. We're successful. And then right-click and create all points. Oh, one last thing. We haven't configured our synchronization file path. So I've got to browse here. I'm going to choose the folder, the shared folder that we just created. So right up the top, I'm going to type in // Pynt02 / interface failover. It's right there. And OK. There it is. I'm going to apply this. And OK. Now I'm going to restart the interface. Once we restart it, we can see any changes in log messages that come up. So first off, we've got some problems. It says here that it's having trouble writing out to our status points. That's because we just created them, but by default, their security doesn't allow this account to write to them. So we need to go into the PyData archive and change that. Otherwise, I think we're looking pretty good. The interface attempts to assume the primary role. It says that the other one, its failover pair, is not available, which is expected because we haven't configured it yet. And otherwise, I think we're good. So let's clear that security issue first. Let's go up into the PyData archive. Let's go into Point Builder, and then find these synchronization points that we just created. So we're going to do a tag search inside Point Builder and search for *UFO*. UFO stands for Unit Failover. And here's our synchronization points. We'll select all and go OK. So the issue we had that was occurring is because the interface cannot write to these points, and it needs to. We can go into security and see that the settings don't allow our interface service account to write to these points. Now we can go into each one individually, one by one, and go add, but it's just easier to use Excel and Point Builder. So go and open Microsoft Excel. Make a blank workbook. And then let's go into PyBuilder, PyPoints, find PyPoints, and grab our UFO points here. So we're searching for all points with UFO in the name, and OK on that. So let's clear all, and the only thing we need to change is the security. So let's find that. Let's grab data security and point security. Okay, strictly speaking, we only really need to give the account data security. So let's add an extra identity onto here. svc pyint is going to have read-write access. I'm going to copy this down, and we should be good. So we're going to publish and use edit mode. And we're complete. Now we can see if our change took effect. Looks like it cleared our post errors. That's great. I'm going to restart it again for good measure. This is looking a lot nicer. No more errors. Really, the only error we get is that the failover pair is not available, the secondary. Let's fix that. Let's go to our PyInt01 and configure it. So we go down to Failover on PyInt01, enable it. Failover ID of this interface is going to be 1, and then we'll browse and select PyInt02. It says the other interface is already configured. Make sure that the configuration is identical, and we've done that. Okay, excellent. Now we're switching to hot. We don't need to create the tags again because they've already been created from our other configuration, but we do need to type in the synchronization file path. So we're going to browse, and up the top in the address bar, I'm going to type in // PyInt02 / and interface failover is there already. Okay, I'm going to select the DAT file inside and open. There we go. Apply. Let's give this a start and see what happens. Okay, I think we're looking good. Let's look up in the log and see what's happening here. So right here, failover is initialized, and the current state of this interface is backup. That's what we expect. The other interface is completely healthy. It was working. We started this one. It sees that the first one's healthy, and it just resumes the backup role. It'll just sit there, not sending data through to the PyData archive, and waiting until something goes wrong with the other. Let's take a look at what our status tags look like. So over on the PyData archive, I'm going to go into System Management Tools, and then into Current Values. And then I'm going to search for these same UFO tags. Well, first off, all our tags are still updating. That's fantastic. Looks like that's working. Let's go to Tag Search. I'm going to search for *UFO*. Here they all are. Let's select all. Go OK. So we've got our number 2 interface is currently primary. Our number 1 is currently backup. The heartbeats are updating. We don't see updates every second. That's fine. That's expected. But they're updating. And our device statuses are both 0. 0 means good. Any number apart from 0 here would indicate that something else is happening apart from smooth running. We also see the active ID is number 2. Now let's go and cause a intentional problem. Let's shut down our PyInt02. So I'm going to stop it, and then go to PyInt01 and we'll watch the log. It says very quickly that the other interface doesn't have a good status, so it attempts to be primary and it resumes the primary role. Let's take a look at what these status tags look like now. Okay, so our status of number 1 is primary, our status of number 2 is off. Device status of 2 is 99, indicates that it's shut down gracefully. And our active one is number 1. We also see that the heartbeat of number 2 is 0, it's not increasing. There's one last step to really ensuring our interface's reliability. The last scenario is that if the interface is restarted and the PyData archive is not available, where does it get its tag list? Well, right now, it can't start. It needs to wait for the PyData archive to become available again. But we can help that along. We can get the interface to load tags from an internal cache. So let's quickly switch that on. So let's go to pyint01. In fact, our pyint02 is off already. Let's take advantage of that and do this whole thing without getting any data loss. We need to go to disconnected startup. We need to enable disconnected startup. Select a location for point cache. I'm going to browse, and interfaces is just fine for us here. We'll go OK. And after that, we're going to apply. After we apply, we're just going to go ahead and start the interface. Okay, we now have a local cache. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to pyint01. We've got flexibility to do this now and restart the interface willy-nilly because we've got redundant interfaces. So we can go to disconnected startup, enable it, choose the path, apply, and restart. So in this lesson, we configured interface failover and disconnected startup. We've really made our interfaces significantly more robust. They're very resistant to network outages and to applications crashing, Windows updates, restarts of the server. We shouldn't lose data as long as one of them is up and active.